June 23rd, 1962, in Mansfield, Ohio, the brutal murder of two young girls led to the arrest of Gerald R. Howell, who admitted to the killings after a struggle to force them to perform oral sodomy. Later found incompetent to stand trial, during interrogations Howell had pinned the blame on a specter already haunting the law enforcement officers. The culprit insisted that the source of the city's moral decay was the men's public bathroom below the city's main square. Social panic and police expediency could now isolate a scapegoat in sex between men. Acts deemed as the defiant basis for child molestation. In the summer of 1962, police installed hidden cameras behind a one-way mirror in a public restroom in Mansfield, Ohio, aiming to catch men engaging in consensual sexual acts. The footage they captured, initially intended as evidence of their supposed criminality, would later become the foundation for Tea Room, a documentary by filmmaker William E. Jones. By recontextualizing these images, Jones shifts the power dynamic of surveillance, transforming oppressive material into a testament to resilience. This video essay explores Tea Room through three main themes: surveillance and invisibility, the notion of an unpayable debt, and the transformative power of the archive. Together, these ideas reveal how this provocative documentary reclaims footage weaponized to oppress and reframes it as a powerful narrative of resistance. As Joachim Agard observes in his analysis of Hito Steril's
How Not to Be Seen,
surveillance produces a tension between visibility and invisibility. To be seen often means to be targeted, while invisibility can serve as a form of resistance. This dynamic was evident during the 2019 Hong Kong protests, where demonstrators masked their faces not only to conceal their identity, but as a symbol of rejection of governmental control. Paradoxically, their invisibility heightened their visibility. The very act of obscuring themselves drew media attention and amplified their cause. Similarly, in Tea Room, the hidden cameras function as an instrument of state power, designed to render these men hyper-visible, while stripping them of agency. Entrapped in a space where their autonomy was systematically denied, they became unwilling subjects of an invasive gaze. The invisibility of the surveillance apparatus only deepened this vulnerability, creating an imbalance that left them exploited and defenseless. The original footage is lined with what Denise Ferreira da Silva terms as an unpayable debt, an impossible demand placed on marginalized groups to conform to societal norms they can never satisfy. Here, debt transcends the financial, manifesting instead as a moral and existential burden. For the men captured in Tea Room, their desires were criminalized, their identities vilified, and their rights erased. Society encumbered them with a debt that was not theirs to pay, a debt unpayable in nature, but which they are forced to pay nonetheless. Yet William E. Jones disrupts this dynamic by reclaiming the footage. Through his documentary, Jones reframes these acts not as deviant, but defiant. Taking the footage from an oppressive state apparatus and using it in an empowering way challenges the idea of the unpayable debt imposed on the LGBTQ+ community. Even the documentary's reception reflects this dynamic. Some critics argued that Jones did not do enough to alter the footage and called into question his authority to make the footage his own, as if he had to earn the right to reuse this footage. But the expectation itself mirrors the idea of the unpayable debt, an expectation that oppressed creators must justify their reclamation of their history of oppression. The production of Tea Room highlights what Jamie Barron calls the archive effect, where archival footage acquires new meaning when placed in a different historical, cultural, or artistic context. Barron's theory emphasized two elements: temporal and intentional disparity, as well as an emphasis on the role of irony in reshaping archival material. Jones' minimal edits, such as the repositioning of the police reenactment footage to the film's opening, coupled with the documentary's title and exhibition setting, fundamentally altered the footage intent. Once weaponized to shame and convict, this material now serves as a testimony of systematic oppression and resilience. Intentional disparity arises from the deliberate repurposing of this footage. Originally intended to criminalize queer men, it now critiques surveillance culture and reclaims a queer history long buried. By decoding this transformation, audiences confront both the footage's original purpose and its reimagined significance. The layering of past and present, what Barron calls temporal disparity, is particularly important in Tea Room. Viewers encounter the footage both as a record of 1960s homophobic policing and as a historical artifact reshaped within today's more accepting socio-political climate. This dual perspective underscores the archival material's evolving resonance. Irony further amplifies this transformation. The rawness of the footage forces viewers to contend with its unsettling duality. Tools of oppression now expose the system of power that sought to erase these men. The documentary's stark presentation underscores this irony, challenging audiences to confront the interplay of vulnerability and voyeurism, oppression and resilience. Tea Room is not merely a documentary, it's an act of defiance. It dismantles the machinery of surveillance, transforms shame into a powerful force of empowerment, and interrogates the narratives that the archive constructed and concealed. It confronts urgent questions. Who determines what is seen and what is unseen? Whose histories are preserved and who gets written out of the record? And how can tools designed for control be wielded to tell stories of liberation? In an era defined by omnipresent surveillance, Tea Room offers a potent reminder. Visibility can oppress, but it can also liberate.